Well, hello. It's Monday at 11 a.m., June 10th. I have Lisa Darcy here, so be ready, everyone.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. I've been around for a long, long year. So many men sold away. And I was around when Jesus Christ had his moment of doubt and faith. Made damn sure that Pilate washed his hands and sealed his fate. Pleased to meet you, hope you guess my name. But what puzzling you is the nature of my game.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jason Schwartz. It's Monday, June 10th, 2019. That seems really odd. I think it's really like 1999, and even that seems pretty odd. It's 2019. That makes me old, or older than most. I'm 68 years old. When I hear that number, I think, my goodness, after all these years, the world isn't right yet. And so here at the Neutral Zone, in honor of the people that put their heart and soul into life, I brought a guest that was on here in our first few shows, probably the first half a dozen, Lisa Darcy, who many of our local people know. Hi, Lisa.
Good morning.
Lisa is the head of a foundation called SHARE YOUR MANAO.
Technically, it's a nonprofit, not a foundation, but that's okay.
Okay. Well, what's the difference?
No need to go into that. We can look
All right. Well, see, now, that just shows you I have a nonprofit foundation, so maybe I'm using the name inappropriately.
It could be, but it might not be.
Being that no one has given me money, we'll talk about how to get money, and that's probably a good subject for a show. You know, there's lots of money out there, and there's lots of things going on, but how do you touch the people that have the money to be able to put money into you to be able to affect programs? I guess it's a matter of communication. Lisa has been here in our community now, how many years? At least
about 15.
15 years. And when I go out on the street, I just ask someone, actually, who isn't homeless now, but for the grace of God, but I said, who would be a good guest? And she said, Lisa Darcy. I said, well, Lisa Darcy was already on our show. Well, she should be on again because she has a huge heart. And so I just want you to know your whatever you're doing out there, the people that are out there that need help, some of them at least, know that you've been knocking on that door a long time. Thank you for all that you give and do.
Oh, it is, it's my pleasure to serve.
And now I understand someone told me, Lisa Darcy's your guest? She was on Thursday with Bodie. Bodie B., one of our community who has a show called Death Tracks and the Death Store and such, had you on. Were you talking about death-related things?
So I think everything in life is related to death. And so maybe I'm a guest with you and with a number of the individuals in this organization because Akaku tries to get to the heart of a lot of issues, and I think once you get to the heart of life and death, you can actually have dialogues about all that stuff that's in between, all that's gray.
So your time with Bodie wasn't specifically guided about homeless people and what happens?
Oh yeah, because we will definitely, and we have talked about how to intersect in terms of assisting people who are either marginalized, poverty, mental health, whatever it is, homeless, and having them have the dignity and the sacred beauty of when they die, how that they're just not forgotten people. You know, we have a very wealthy community, and to think that people are dying just like off, you know, all by themselves, or have no funds to have any sort of dignity with the type of death that they would like is something that I think there are a lot of people that would be interested in championing.
So you talked on the show. I'm just thinking, I hope that everyone knows that Facebook Live at KAKU FM on Facebook, these are all recorded in Facebook Live. I have mine on my own website, MauiNeutralZone.com. But I'm sure that up there at Facebook Live in KAKU, you'll find, for example, your show is probably up there with
Probably.
Bodhi.
Yeah.
So the good information. Because when I said I want to have Lisa Darcy as a guest, my thought was, well, she was here before. Let's take a little check back with some of the people in our community to see how we doing on some of these things that we want to be supportive of. So I'm going to let you kind of take the lead, because I know you came in highly energized today and organized. That means you have something you'd really like to share, which I'm real happy to hear.
Well, yeah, I'm always doing some research. I'm always looking around. I'm always seeing what's going out, because we're a really insulated community. Maui is, even inside of Hawaii, we are pretty insulated in terms of whatever we don't go to a lot of conferences. We don't bring a lot of information back from other places in the world. It's starting to happen, and I've seen some county council members in the last 2 years that have traveled to learn about individuals that are living unsheltered. But we don't. It's not a general part of kind of the community here. It's really more tactile, face-to-face, community-oriented. So, which makes it kind of a rural. It means that when I was on the mainland,
until you see it in your face.
Yeah, when I was on the mainland, it was part of all the jobs of any job that I had, that I would travel, that I would go to conferences, and when you went to a conference, you were to bring it back and you were to implement whatever was working somewhere else. It wasn't like, oh yeah, we went out and we had dinner and we did this, and you didn't post things about having fun, and we worked our butts off when we went to conferences, and we had a responsibility to bring whatever we learned back into the program we were at.
And you don't see that happening?
No,
here?
Not at all. Not at all.
Have you, let's say, asked or encouraged?
Yes.
I want to say mayor.
Yes.
But, and what kind
well,
of
not
fun?
mayor, but I'm just whatever organization I've worked in. And so what I mean by that, here on Maui, is people tend to just try to solve it with themselves. And I have to say that my experiences, I've worked with individuals internationally, and when you get that sort of collaboration together and you get people in the room who have really gone through some tough issues, it doesn't matter who or what you are, everybody learns from each other. And I just think that we would benefit from that a lot here in Maui. And since we don't, I do my own research, and I go and I talk, and when I travel, I always go to, I went to London last year, and I actually spent 2 days knocking on doors for some of the programs there, just literally showing up. It's a lot harder to just show up and say, hey, I want to talk to somebody. Their houseless crisis looks a lot different than ours does. And but I would literally just stand in some back alley streets and talk with people, and what most people would consider really sketchy and probably maybe not that intelligent of a decision to do. But I've always had really, I have a skill set that allows me to go into most places. So you go out
into the trenches, if you will.
Yeah, more than trenches. Some really dark,
right.
Yeah, areas. But I talk with people, and I'm like, and if people don't want to talk to me, they'll let you know they don't want to talk to you.
Sure.
So I'm like, hey, that's cool, whatever, But it looks very different. So I'm always wherever I go trying to find some solution somewhere.
Can you give us a encapsulation of what noticeably felt different?
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to tie it into when I came into here with some energy. It's because I've listened to a couple of podcasts over the last couple of days, and I've read a couple of different sites other than what we have, on the front pages of our papers here, which is really anyway. So some of the things that I've been listening to that have reaffirmed a position that I take here on Maui, which is I think why people respect what I have to say, is that I'm speaking from their truth and not my truth. And their truth is that these are the things that have happened to them. And so then I look and I go, well, if that's a barrier, how do we remove the barrier? And this can be applied to any aspect of anybody's life, no matter whether you're sheltered or unsheltered, wealthy or not, happy or sad. I mean, a barrier is a barrier. And if you look at it as a set of equations, what do we need to do to improve someone's quality of life or give them the tools to improve their quality of life? So my concept today was all about removing barriers.
Okay. Well, I'm going to remove a barrier that might be between you and being able to communicate what you want to talk about here, and that I'm giving you full freedom to kind of take the lead, and I can ask questions, but I'm sure that what you have to say is something I want to hear, so knock us out.
Okay, so here's an example of some of the things historically that have happened over the last 10, 15 years on Maui. There have been pretty much all of the organizations that assisted people in terms of being able to gain employment. Those agencies have lost their funding. Okay, so you had DVR, which Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, which when I came here was it was a pretty thriving department, and it's pretty much bare bones, if that even anymore. It doesn't have the
DVR,
resources.
what do they do? Hi, Mr. Employer. We're looking to employ people that have a... You identify these people as have challenges, or you're just looking to create new jobs, and then they post them? Is that what this is?
No, so DVR is a government-funded agency that was in the state building, and depending upon your income or disability, they were available to help in a lot of ways kind of coach people, and they had the resources to coach people. So they would
coach anyone, not necessarily a
you could go
person.
in, a lot of people with disabilities as well, and they would help match people up with different types of jobs. They would send people over to, there was a program called the One Stop Vocational Shop, and it had computers. You could work on your resume. They had job postings. They were kind of a connection site also.
State funded. Now, not so.
Yeah, neither of those two really
that was
exist
a decision
anymore.
In the budget somewhere?
Somewhere, yeah. The other piece that when I was at Moana, I mean, I really need to go look at the numbers of people that helped get jobs, sometimes even in the same day. It was remarkable that when somebody walked through the door, didn't have a resume, and if I wasn't working with someone then, or even if I had an appointment, if I made an appointment with them, they came in. There were days that sometimes we whipped a resume up, went on Craigslist, posted, got a call, and in 24 hours that person had an interview. Okay, now that's almost impossible if you are living marginalized and you don't have access to a computer, you don't have access to any internet, you don't have, like if you live outside or something, your things get stolen, your computer, you have to redo things all the time. I mean, these are what I'm thinking. These are barriers. Anybody who has a computer, imagine if your computer was gone tomorrow or today, it would just disappeared. How would you function? So removing access to barriers. Even at Kahaleakiola, the shelter, they reduced and eliminated their employment program there, which they lost their funding for, which to me, these are just absolute basic needs in our community.
Who's making these decisions?
Well, I don't know. I was very clear when I heard about these things that they were going to set back enormous amounts of people.
Yeah.
And I don't know who makes these decisions, and that's part of it, is like even just following legislation is a full-time job. So you can't sit down and be sitting with people and writing resumes, but also following all the legislation, which is what I was trying to do for a little while, and it just burns you out because it's really it's complex, and people don't make always decisions up front. Decisions are made without full knowledge or full disclosure, and anyway, so access to success, and people say they say low, having low barriers. I always think of it as a limbo bar. Have you ever limboed? Like, I'm not that flexible, so I will lose the limbo. I mean, I won't even every single time. But some people can limbo low, okay? So the point is, if you want people to play, you're going to have to start the bar high, and so it's like kind of the visual reverse of low, the low barrier.
Raise the bar.
Right. So raise the bar to seeing success versus like making people earn certain steps all the time. Like people can't have to beg for internet access or use of a computer or taking a shower or going to the bathroom. And I feel like so much of our community is these basic things. People, it's like it's not seen as a human need, like a basic need first.
Also, it's not seen as a responsibility by many people that they can help provide some of the solutions. They point at, oh, there's an agency to do that. Oh, there's a place over there. That is probably the barrier that I notice the most, which is people have resources, but they're not so quick to want to share them.
Well, and without judgment to anybody and how they use their resources, I think my job and your job is to make what we do look attractive and be attractive, so that I think that it's very fair to say people want to bang for their buck. And I subscribe to that in a lot of ways, and I never just ask people for money. But what you do is saying, okay, I'm going to do this project. Like I have this, I've written up a project where a mobile employment van, where it has computers, and then you'll go, I can go anywhere and I'll have Wi-Fi access, and I could print out people's stuff for them if they need it. It's really impossible to have any sort of forward progress in your life if you don't have this kind of electronic access. And because people are just trying to find bathrooms, they're just trying to do their laundry. They're just trying to
find a place to put their stuff.
You can,
long enough that they can actually go get a job and have to carry their, like Santa Claus.
So this is an important piece of low barrier access, is that most shelters are designed where people have to be out like at 7 in the morning and they can't come in until like 6 at night or something like that.
Right.
But I mean, imagine if you had to take everything you owned with you for the whole day,
really
and then you've got to go to appointments, you've got to carry your food, you've got to do all the, like, you can't. It's never made sense to me.
It's
and
constantly a problem.
Well, and people think you're criticizing them. I'm like, it's not a criticism, but have you tried it? Like, I think everybody who implements these rules needs to live the rules for a couple of weeks themselves and see how legitimate.
Have you had any takers?
No, and I think I've offered it.
Remember George Plimpton? Remember years ago there was a guy named George Plimpton that would jump in different careers, and we knew him as a paper lion. He was a Detroit Lion for a day. But that's it, is like, walk in my shoes. Some of the people out there are struggling at levels that most people really can't.
Survival, like really actually instinctually just trying to survive. And so when someone comes in a bad mood, I was never upset with them, or I didn't say, don't leave until you have a better attitude. You always say, what's going on? Just sit down for a minute. What's going on? And then you can determine. I mean, there could be mental health issues that are untreated as well. And we get angry at people for having mental health issues. We get angry. Nobody gets angry at anyone for having diabetes or having cancer or any of these things. I mean, people just get downright angry. And part of that is the lack of understanding of what even mental health needs are. And this is an across-the-board
issue. Also the stigma of calling it mental health. A lot of people have a real issue with that. I mean, anyway, I see all the issues on the street. Sadly, I know people that are homeless still. I know people that were living in a home, couldn't find a place because the rents were too high, live in their car with kids, like you're talking about, have to try to find bathrooms, place to keep the dirty laundry somewhere while you're trying to live in the car, and storage is so high. Have you seen answers? You talked about being out in the world there. Any answers that you see from other places that might be implemented here?
Yeah, so one of the things that, and this is a little controversial for Maui, and it's of no surprise to anyone who's followed any of the work that I've done, is I really feel like we have, it's like we leave everything to the Maui Homeless Alliance. And I feel that the Maui Homeless Alliance is directed by what government funding they get. This is my experience. So the agencies are following through with their funding from the federal government. My experience is the federal government in the way that it's implemented here on Maui is about 10 to 15 years behind the curve of need. So in the meantime, what do you do in terms of the crisis? I mean, Maui has a full-on crisis. I wrote an article over 10 years ago, Sound the Alarm. It was 10 years ago, and I was absolutely floored at the lack of any sort of urgency that's being applied to this discussion, and just watching the amount of people stay suffering these cycles. There's no way to get out of the cycles, and seeing the community criticize individuals, you know, for them being in it. And I was like, there's such a disconnect.
What's happening with the council? What's happening with these departments and the mayor that we could change? I mean, I could go off on my stories also about this stuff for so long. It's like, what are we doing?
So how are we going to, and so I actually believe that Maui right here and right now, we need to transform ourselves. And we need to understand each one of us has power in this. And each one of us can make a difference. And when we collectively start to move forward, instead of just being siloed in our little discussions with our general little family, our friends and families, or whoever we
preaching to the choir.
Then but it's another thing is people have got to actually show up and take some action. And you've got to get involved in county council. You've got to get involved in the political cycles. You've got to get involved in agencies when you see something is not producing a success, and every one of us has every reason to say, why isn't that happening, and what can I do to help, and not criticize them.
That's a nice piece you added. What can I do to help? That is really...
Every one of us. I don't believe this canoe has any hope in turning if the community doesn't step up and say, what can I do to help? And they're going to have to, each one of us is going to have to do the work to put our own attitudes to the side and our own judgments, and that's where I think a lot of work needs to be put, and that's why I believe in Share Your Manao.
Way earlier,
right?
No, we're right. It's a change inside. It's the realizing that the person next to you, that by the grace of God, could be you or someone you do know.
Or just, it doesn't matter if we know them or not. I mean, there's just no reason for,
just incredible.
Yeah, for people to, with the wealth that we have on all the emotional, the physical, the financial, the spiritual wealth that we have, it's got to be shared, and we really have to reframe from criticism and judgment, which is not an easy task, but we need to help each other do that. And no matter whether we're friends or not, to be able to switch a conversation around from the complaining to, well, you know, I was going to go and get involved in this agency, or I'm going to volunteer here, or I'm going to do this, and switch your TVs off one night a week and participate in learning about legislation.
Some of the stuff, because I always wonder, you know, I think I've done it personally, and sometimes it can be significantly challenging, but helping people that need to have a shower once in a while, I say, sure, you can come. And then they become stuck in this loop of needing you to be there for them. And there's no relief, because although I might have a couple of nights a week or once a week or something, that's only one night a week. There's 6 other nights, and that I become the one. And then
right.
I had a guy a day after Christmas. Someone was at my place and challenged physically, and they were there resting in the back room. And this guy wanted to come and take a shower, and he just got ballistic because I helped him before, and now he couldn't. It's like,
right.
What do you do with that?
So what I need to do with that is we need to do some community trainings with anybody in the community, and say, you know, people would come in the office and I would be able to help them when I was at Ho'omoana, and I would be very clear. I said, this is not a long-term solution. It may be a solution just for today, And we want to make sure you leave this office feeling a lot better than when you came in. And sometimes it's just a conversation. It may not be actual connecting to all of these other things. Sometimes it was just about being seen and heard. That was painful, though. It was painful because I saw people with sores on their bodies. I saw people who had families. I saw people who wanted to work desperately and didn't have the mental capacity to be able to follow through. They really needed a case manager. They needed medications. They needed all of these things every single day. That's why I said we got to dial it down. We got to dial it down to even sometimes just being, if just for today, I posted something on Facebook about the forks. People are complaining about waste and trash. And every single day, people pick up plastic forks and they pick up plastic cups and they throw it out. And I just look at it and I go, what are you doing? Like, carry a fork with you. Carry your container, and if you don't have one, this is something you can do. Let's get some water bottles for people so that they don't have to keep taking plastic or they don't have to keep buying things. This is one of the things I want to get a little Share Your Mana bottle, and being able to pass those around and say, hey, or maybe some people we could start a little fund where we have the containers with this.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to break in. We're going to jump to our sponsors and supporters of public radio. We are really the voice of Maui, and we want our sponsors to know we really appreciate them. And we'll be back with Lisa Darcy and talk more here in a minute. So you guys hang on. The Neutral Zone with me, Jason Schwartz, would like to sincerely thank David Bryan for his support. David was founder and head of school at New Road School in Santa Monica, California, and is the board chair at the Ojai Foundation and on the board for Brave New Films. The Neutral Zone is heard live Mondays at 11 a.m. here on KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui, and again on Saturdays at 7 a.m., as well as on TV and on MauiNeutralZone.com.
Get a jump on protecting Maui's coral reefs. No need to wait for Hawaii's new sunscreen law to go into effect. This is Archie Kalepa asking you to make the switch today to sunscreens that do not contain reef-harming oxybenzone or octanoxate. Find out about better choices at mauireefs.org/sunscreen. Sponsored with Aloha by Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, Maui Visitors Bureau, and the County of Maui Office of Economic Development.
The Neutral Zone, with me, Jason Schwartz, would like to thank Maui Arts and Music Association, Dreammakers Foundation of Maui, for their support. Since 1991, with hundreds of television shows and their MauiArtsandMusic.com website, they have championed self-sustainability on Maui. The Neutral Zone is heard live Mondays at 11 a.m. and replayed Saturday at 7 a.m. on KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui. Hi, I'm Jason Schwartz, host of The Neutral Zone. KAKU is a listener-supported station. This means that all of the great programs you hear, like mine, are sponsored by you as well as our underwriters. If you would like to help keep the voice of Maui talking loud and clear, go to kakufm.org/donate today and give. And don't miss The Neutral Zone Mondays at 11 a.m. on 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui.
You know who loves tacos, burritos, tamales, quesadillas? We all do. Chilango's Mexican cuisine is the place to go. Authentic plates, combo plates, a la carte, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Chilango's Mexican cuisine on Prison Street in Lahaina. Or for takeout, call 661-4058. Thank you, Chilango's Mexican cuisine, for your support of Miriam and the Latino Connection. Fridays at noon on KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui.
Hey there, I'm back with Lisa Darcy here at the Neutral Zone. I'm Jason Schwartz. We're on Maui for all you people wherever you are. Come on, visit. I don't want you to stay, though. I'm afraid that we don't have enough housing here. In fact, we don't have enough housing at.
I'm going to interrupt you on that because shame on you.
Why is that?
I don't. You can. Don't. I don't want you to stay. What we have to. What the challenge is, I think, is
I don't want you to stay. You don't like those words?
Yeah, well, and you know, because I think language is extraordinarily important in
Okay.
winning in relationships. And I know you, so to me,
What
that's not
I
a big deal.
basically mean is we're starting to sink because we are over the number of people that can be here. Saturation
are
to
we-
a point where we're losing the things that made Maui special. It got me here 30 years ago, and I'm still here. And
Yes, but
I am part of the problem. But here I am now.
Do we
and
need to just rearrange or remanage things?
Do you think that we need what? 15,000, 10,000 affordable homes
Well, you know
right
what?
now?
Where's my elephant?
So-
I had an elephant, and I would hold the elephant in the room up. This is one of the major pieces, I think, and it never gets discussed openly at the Maui Homeless Alliance. And I became very,
So what's the elephant,
like,
please?
it felt stifled. Elephant is, if we actually create positive solutions, everybody's going to come here.
Well, the old mayor said to me, we can't make it too attractive and have solutions that all the homeless in the world are going to come here and start using our services.
Right. So here's the tourist dilemma, and I really find it very, very closely related. And I anybody could, you know, open my eyes. This is just my experience. Is that Maui has been at the top of the tourist charts in all these beautiful magazines, everything, right? For how long? I mean, the advertising for the beauty of Maui has reached everywhere around the world, okay?
Right.
So doesn't it seem really logical that if you're selling this gorgeous product, people are going to want lots of it? They're going to want lots of it. And you make it so that people can have a piece of it, but then you have to go home. You know how you just said, you can stay here, but then you have to go
Well,
home.
I like to think of us, and that's when I started
Hold on,
my
let
nonprofit.
me
Go ahead.
finish this point. And my point is,
You have to go home.
there were lots of people in the office that I had before that came and had come on vacation, or they'd come somewhere and they said, oh my God, Maui is amazing, it was beautiful, and I moved here, with my partner, or we did this and that, and then something went wrong and they ended up unsheltered very quickly. You know, unless you have a very, very secure place of employment, and it is enough to maintain the financial component of rent and all of the other pieces. It's very expensive to live here. If you are not aware of that, and that is not in that beautiful little package, oh, and by the way, this is the reality, you know, then you're putting out everyone you talk to. I can't go back to my last place where I lived. And I say I live in Maui, and they're like, oh my God, you live in paradise. It's perfect. There is some truth to that. There's a piece of it. The elements of nature, I think, are so intoxicating. And the ohana, the sense of ohana was really amazing.
Yesterday's event.
But here's the thing. It's in complete conflict then with people moving here if you sell this beautiful package and you think people aren't going to want to come here, or you think that someone who's down and out, who hasn't looked at a magazine and says, I need a change in my life, I'm going to move somewhere where it's perfect. I mean, like, the advertising and the way that it's been demonstrated to the world is it's perfect here. Who wouldn't want to come here?
So how does that deal with our problem? I got you.
So I think it's directly related to everybody dragging their feet to make all kinds of. There's so many solutions outside of Maui, even in other counties. They're providing different sorts of solutions, but Maui is super entrenched in this attitude, and as long as it stays in the attitude where we don't want people coming here, I mean, it sounds like almost building a wall. You know, we don't want people coming here.
I'm listening, but I'm trying to hear what you're saying, because you just talked about things in other areas that we could do to help here.
Yes.
Got that. But we're trying to promote this as a beautiful destination, which we do.
Right.
And I said, and go home. What I meant is go home and see the solutions that we implement here. That's the reason I formed my nonprofit all these years ago, was to say, let's build an example place and show the world, not have them come here and live here, It's all. I mean, we know we're an occupied country. That's a whole separate
Right,
discussion. But we have too many people here. We have too many people here, and we don't have a.
Why? What do you
plan.
mean? Why do we have too many people here?
Well, again, I try to figure out where are we putting people in affordable homes.
Well, who's
What is
we?
affordable?
Right.
Well, the we as a community, we're on an island, and to me, if we don't think as a we,
Well, I don't have any say in that. It's not a we that includes me.
Well, so I'm saying.
I mean, I
When
could.
you say a we that includes you.
Right. I mean,
It is. It is. Like you have solutions, and we're trying to put it into bite-sized pieces so people help, and it's sort of like Band-Aids on a wall. The dam is going to break. You don't
Right.
think? I don't think there are enough affordable. When people have the money, they can't find a place to
Right.
live. When they don't have the money and there are no places to live, the people that are building, we should more than encourage them to build what we need to see happening. And
Right.
we means government,
Right.
but that doesn't mean profits can't be in the private sector, and we can't start in the private sector and have the government say, oh, that's a great idea.
so one of the pieces that I listened to coming in
Yeah.
this past week was, and like I said, I always find that Maui's about 10 to 15 years behind what is happening
That's
with the
amazing.
government. And the government, I think, is actually behind, how other communities can actually, if they're nonprofit sector, which is fully nonprofit and not fully a full community, like I don't want to take any money at all from state, federal, or county money. I want it to be completely just based on community, because I believe they have got to intersect, and they've got to be involved in these in the solutions, and I don't see them very well represented for a number of reasons. But here's one of the things that has been put across the banner for the Interagency Council on Homelessness, the U.S. Interagency, is they have now been very clearly saying that sometimes a community doesn't need just one or two larger shelters. What they need are multiple smaller shelters that even have different flavors to them. And that's what that's just a simple, to me, that would be a simple way to actually access a lot more people. People who have pets maybe, or people who have partners, or people that are having sobriety needs and are not really getting their agencies. What if we had smaller shelters, several, and instead of just these bigger, larger ones where and we only have like the two, what if they were broken, or the monies went into smaller, like satellite ones where people stepped into the larger, which because it's they're intended to be steps into independence.
You mean first it's a dormitory and then it goes to individual?
Well, I don't know, dormitory, but maybe it is even like a campsite or
what
something.
I'm saying is, I think what I'm trying to say is, I'm hearing you, and yet that's still the government doing it. It's not getting the community. I'm keeping thinking that the
Right.
community needs to be where the involvement goes.
Right. Well, the only place I can example.
The government can
Right.
encourage that activity through tax breaks to encourage developers to build what.
So Ho'omoana did that.
Okay.
And they were actually, when testimony was allowed, the Homeless Alliance clearly stated they were not in support of the Ho'omoana project.
Why?
Because it wasn't, what they said,
Because it was under their control?
because it wasn't housing first. And this is, I think, a massive miss for Maui County.
Meaning, is that the thing in the west side where you guys want to provide showers and sort of first service? Is that what you mean?
It was actually a really beautiful kind of campground.
Oh, I see.
It was going to have
how it
the elements kind of being really, really simple, close to nature, but it had all of the points that were important. All of your stuff would be safe. You could have partners, you could have families, you could have access to water and showers and laundry, and there would be access to community case management. So, all of the different agencies would be able to come in. There would be volunteers. It had this really open access. And yet the Maui Homeless Alliance stepped up and said, it isn't housing first. And we said, exactly, it's not meant to be housing first. Housing first is this. It's a silo. It's meant to feed people into housing first.
So,
but
Maui Homeless Alliance had a vote? How did they come upon, we don't support that?
Well, you have to go through, part of the process is that you have to have public testimony, and that was their, and that was actually, I believe, also from the Department of Human Services. Were not in support either.
Well, I'm hearing that, but what are they doing?
Well, so they're I don't want to overspeak or underspeak or misspeak. So I just know that they're doing housing first, and housing first is an important part of the picture, but it's not the entire picture.
It's not enough.
I agree. I totally agree. It's not enough.
So why the resistance? I don't understand the resistance. How is that threatening them? It's not.
Like I said, I can't speak for them, and I can't, and I don't want to misspeak.
I'm purposely churning the waters a little bit here because I'm looking for our public to say, yeah, I would like the public, those guys, to take that little baby step that we're talking about, which is get involved. I mean, issues like that. Right. I mean, so is that dead? Is it something that could be reawakened?
It's
duplicated
in process,
in different places?
Yeah. So here's the thing: the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness really encourages the public to attend their COC, which is their continuum of care, and ours is the Maui Homeless Alliance, or they call them Bridging the Gap, and that's every third Wednesday of the month at noon at the MEO building. People can attend.
I went, and it was uncomfortable to me because I felt like it wasn't really real. It didn't get down to issues. It was so bureaucratic in its structure.
Right. It's mostly agency announcements.
Had to be there. They had they couldn't get their funding. So there was I didn't really feel like it had too much teeth.
Right. So I believe they have started some committees. I had started some committees when I was there. I haven't been attending because I actually volunteer in Maui Correctional Facility now, and it actually conflicts with those times, so I'm not able to go to the Homeless Alliance.
Counseling, you mean?
Yeah, in a women's mentoring program for the inmates, and wow, it's fantastic. That's a whole other story.
Right. I mean, I've seen a couple of groups. You've seen Boys to Men go in. I don't know what your group is called.
Ka Ipuha'a.
Well, I know there are a lot of people. Maybe they should be talking to see what they can do. This other group has really been very helpful, mentoring boys that don't have father or feel like they need a father.
Yeah, some beautiful work is being done there by a lot of volunteers.
Well, so I see, but to me that was an interagency thing and a homeless alliance. That's all government, and that's all in my mind. And heavily laden in workers worked, but where's the money being spent when something like you're talking about, once built, has relatively low maintenance, has tremendous can show a numbers count on really helping people and making them, like you say, I want to say pre-ready or get ready for a job, get ready to look for something, so that these things. So why would a homeless alliance say housing first? It's nice to have housing first, but it's really stuck in we have other needs.
Well, I think it needs to be challenged. I think that attitude needs to be challenged.
But in a nice way, but does it take...
Oh, I have. I've challenged it quite a bit.
I know you have.
And I hope it's a nice way. I don't, if I'm not, I'm willing to, someone can please offer me the dialogue.
No. Well, you just told me my languaging is not real warm and fuzzy.
No, I didn't say it wasn't warm and fuzzy. I just wanted to actually kind of filter it a little more into really what you were meaning. Because sometimes we say broad statements.
Well, like when I say,
and myself included.
What I really am always thinking is that we can shine and show a great example that others can put into their community. Like you said, like people should be doing their own research from here to take ideas that are being implemented in other places and do them here. I'm sure that that idea that you had that was poo-pooed by the Alliance and turned down is being implemented in all kinds of places around the world.
Yeah, it's not a new footprint whatsoever. It's not a new footprint, right?
So how are these people that are dinosaurs, and it's nice to say housing first if you have the ability to provide it, but if you have to provide other things, why would you say no to something that is so...
Well, it also, I'm really curious, and I haven't sought it out, but I'd like to know what the current, what our statistics are, and that's something I'm going to need to kind of dive into, or anybody who wants to, is find out what our current, I saw an article in the paper from an individual in the Homeless Alliance saying that we have enough housing for everyone who's homeless. So it's really important to say where that is and to cite the information and where, the report. I mean, that's a very large statement. And so it would be really helpful, certainly as someone as a reader, to know where that is. What does that mean? Does that mean that we don't have any more urgency? Or, because I think
how can
as a
someone
public
believe
member,
that?
I don't know.
Believe that and be in a Homeless Alliance and drive these streets any day.
I don't. Well, so you don't want to confuse that with people that are resistant. They call them resistant. I think I giggle at people who are resistant, and I think as a provider, it just means that I'm not doing a very good job if people are resistant. It means I need to find a different way to access the person inside. So everyone, you hear comments constantly, there's all those people that don't want, they don't want it. I have to tell you, can I tell you how many people I've spoken to when I first talked to them? They're like, yeah, I'm happy out here. And you sit with them, you go back next couple of days, or you talk a little more, and you go, hey, I'm actually going to try and put a place together, and I'd love, what should it have? And then you start designing it with them, and before you know it, they would live there in a heartbeat, because they have been included in the vision. They have been seen. They have been heard. They believe now. They have trust. And so when you walk up to them saying, "Do you want housing?" They don't actually want to. They don't even know you. They don't want to talk to you. Of course, they're going to say, "No, I'm fine."
Now, you think those people are going to come up to the Maui Homeless Alliance and feel that it's productive, or that the group?
Well,
I don't think so.
Of course not, because that's a group that's also experiencing trauma, and they're also experiencing.
Who are we wanting to reach out to get involved? I want to say to get involved with the Homeless Alliance to soften their position, but maybe.
No, again, I'm not here to criticize them whatsoever. No. I'm gonna ask you not to, because I think what we need to do as community members is start with ourselves. And we need to say what is an acceptable level for someone to be living at, no matter who you are or what your problems are.
Well, how does that? Isn't that shifting it? These
Absolutely.
Things that are government funding
Absolutely.
all these agencies, when we have services that are pre-housing, before you can even think about housing, you got to get clean and wash your laundry.
Right.
How can they be considered a group we fund that are running these programs? I have a lot of upset at that.
Yeah.
I see people that are suffering, and so do you.
Yeah.
But your gentle approach, I guess you'd say, is you get a lot of more bees with honey.
Yeah.
But it's really rude out there now. I know you know.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean you have to be rude or I have to be rude.
No, but that doesn't mean
just bring your honey with you, honey.
Well, when we go to the Maui Homeless Alliance, I thought I was rather quiet and diplomatic in what I was trying to do there, but I didn't feel there was any reception.
Well, and this is my point: is they're doing what they're doing. They're a canoe that's paddling in one direction.
Yeah.
This is why I say, let them paddle in their direction. That's fine. What we as community members have to do is maybe they have to learn to trust us. And so maybe we have to take bigger steps, or even quieter steps, or more organized steps together
You mean
to
the
support.
Alliance group would trust us?
Well, I'm
Is that what
coming
you're
back
saying?
to your shower thing. And here's an example. I had a friend who was having surgery a couple of years ago, and she knew she was going to be like bedridden for like a month. And she's like, God, who's going to help me? She immediately tried to think she was trying to get someone to help her. But she's a smart woman. And then what she did is she created a calendar and she sent it out to all of her friends. And she said, can everyone just pick a day? So that, you know, help me come over, help me get a shower, or help me make some food. And we all just signed up. And when she provided that organizational tool of the calendar, it became manageable for all of us, and especially her. You know, it wasn't about getting somebody to commit for a month of their life. I mean, that's really hard to do. It's the same concept for me with the shower. You can say, listen, I have a shower on a Monday, or, you know, every second Monday, and maybe I can find another friend or another person in my neighborhood or someone who could provide it on the Wednesday, or, you know, and what we have to do is we have to start asking each other more to help.
Have you been getting traction with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's just
like I told you, that guy that came over, and now what about these other days, and he got angry with me because I wasn't providing services.
Right.
Individual stories and individual clever people that can do it, but there's so much more need.
I know. Well, and I'm not saying I'm great at it. I'm not great at this,
I'm
but
just saying, I don't mind taking a shot here, if you will, at some of these state groups or groups that would block additional services being provided in our community to help people with that incredibly difficult step. Just like you said, a place to shower or leave your stuff.
Right.
Try to get your wits together. How could a group be in opposition to that?
Well, I don't know. I love the attitude is give me a chance to fail. Give me a chance to fail. Because in that is an opportunity to succeed.
Is it that we needed them to get an approval because of the land area?
No. I don't want you to get hung up on that, because I want you to hear the point of we as individuals and community members and what we do. And not to say that agencies don't need oversight.
I just sometimes feel like we are so good at, and you're very good at it, making it sound sweeter. It isn't sweet.
It can be. It can be.
Well, I am really not seeing it in the people that I am seeing interface with these agencies. And they all have special individual needs and all that kind of stuff. But it's just, I don't really feel good about these agencies. And, you know, I like naming them.
Well, I hear your frustration.
I think I like naming them because people in the public think that these agencies are doing the job and they don't have to be involved themselves to help. And I want people to help. And so if you know these agencies aren't helping these areas, that you yourself say, look, hey, I'd provide a shower once in a while to someone. So that's what I want to see.
Jason, my point also, and I don't want it to get lost, is every agency can't be everything to everybody. And we have got to recognize that every agency can't be everything to everybody. And we can't hold that standard for every single agency.
No, but I like picking on agencies because these are people that get paid every day, go home to their places every day, see the problem. Some of the workers are so frustrated because they don't have more resources to be able to help
well, let's talk about the solutions while we can. And I mean, their frustrations are real.
The system, like when we said, well, there's no more DVR group, there's no more this, because somewhere in someone's budgeting process, it wasn't important enough for them. And that's why I'm bringing it up. These agencies, whatever's left is now, their hands are tied and they can't even do the job that they might have wanted to do. That's why I'm bringing it up.
I know. I wrote a crisis article over 10 years ago, so I'm well aware of it. And now
I'm bringing it up really for these guys to hear and to realize what I said, which is the participation thing. Because people point to agencies and say, how could that? I lost a few friends over it because they were so insistent that these agencies were helping, and how dare I think that they, and no, they're not providing all the needs that they need, and the public needs to hear. I think they need to hear that. So that they do something.
Well, we need some data. It would be nice to get some more data too. We really.
Your attitude and your approach is great. I am just saying that I think more people would be involved if they really realized that the agencies really they're overwhelmed and they don't have the money and things are getting cut off, but we at the private sector, we can pick up that difference in such a
We
great
have to pick
way.
up the difference.
Yesterday's funeral
If we're gonna
and
change.
ceremony yesterday for Kekai Mina was such an incredible wealth of people coming out and supporting this family and their whole ohana. It was absolutely a beautiful thing. And the love you see there just is unbelievable.
Well, and that's
And
the
the
point,
solutions
right?
in that group
Right,
are unbelievable. That attitude of helping each other.
right.
That's what I'm saying. And the agencies didn't do that. It was all the people. It was a private
Well,
sector.
before we say the agencies, it's important to understand how an agency starts. You really need to look at the history of an agency before you just, we decide whether we're going to, yay or nay them in this moment. So,
Well, we have a minute and a half. Can you believe it? I apologize if you think I bashed them a little too much. But
I would like to say I would like more. The message I bring today is to really, I think it's important to go hard on issues and to look at and to be truthful and to be fair. Sometimes that is tough, but we can choose the language and the manner by which we approach these, because they're very emotional and they have a lot of intensity for a lot of people. And so I would also just always encourage that deep breath. Remember, we're all sharing the same breath.
we are sharing breath here with Lisa Darcy from Share Your Mana Foundation, nonprofit. And we're out of time. I am always amazed because I could keep talking, and I know you could. These are subjects that, if you want to get in touch with Lisa, can you have a way to get in touch with you easy?
Oh, well, you can just, shareyourmana.org.
There you go. So please do check in and realize that she is an incredible resource and probably can show you ways that you can be able to help or be helped in this really important work that you do. Thank you for coming back again and checking in here with me.
Very much appreciated. I always am grateful for dialogue with you.
Thank you. Well, thank all you guys for joining us. We're going to leave you once again. Next week we have Melinda Gahn. We're going to have the peace poem and talking about kids and peace and Martin Luther King. And the following week is Al Perez from Maui Tomorrow. So check on in and check on back. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you all for joining us.